Welcome to the Money GPS. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Look around and you see the job layoffs happening everywhere, it seems, even in the industries that were in such high demand just a few months ago. I'm going to show you not just what's happening, but why it's happening. Let's begin by taking a look at this. More companies start to rescind job offers. The labor market remains hot, yet businesses in a range of industries are pulling back job offers. Yes, here you go. No thanks. How would that feel? Not too good, right? Tech firms cut staff amid recession fears. Many of them, I've shown you Netflix and so many others that are doing this, but it's also in the financial world. JP Morgan reportedly laying off hundreds in mortgage business. And actually, they said hundreds more would be, I think I have it here actually, lays off hundreds in home lending after rates surge, hundreds more to be reassigned as demand for home loans cools. Yes, you were a banker before, but now if you want something, sweeping the floors, well, you can have that job. How does that sound? Oh, you want to quit? Okay, sounds good. And this is the way that they can make things a little bit easier. Say, hey, we offered them a job, but not the one that they wanted. Now, you could see that this has always been the case. In every previous cycle, we look at how the central banks influence what happens. This business cycle here throughout, time and time again, is an easy way to look at all of the conditions in the news. You're going to see it. Oh, what's happening right now? You got to look at the central bank. They create the cycle when everybody is looking one way at this politician and that guy. No, you need to understand the central banks. They are the key, most important factor. That's why I harp on it every single day. And I see nonsense being spread around there in just about everywhere. And please, please don't get distracted. The number one thing is the central banks. High gas prices hit demand as drivers cut back at the pump. Well, I don't know how you can cut back at the pump. Sometimes you got to get to your destination. But I think this shows us this demand destruction, the ceiling. With any purchase, there's always going to be a ceiling. What is the consumer willing to pay? And the businesses, they are, unless you're an Uber or, some of these other things that are willing to take a hit for a long period of time, they try to maximize what they can charge to the customer. And of course, as their input costs go up, what do you think that does? Well, that pushes the prices up. And they do this over and over again. And we see this cycle happening over and over. They raise the prices. Uh-oh, recession time. Let's cut our prices. Oh, and then we turn around and around and around. And they have to do this over and over again because of the actions of the central banks. Everything that they do when they're printing money and when they're changing interest rates, either up or down, it affects businesses. That's why they call it the business cycle. Powell says soft landing, very challenging. Now even Powell is saying it. Recession possible. Chair says chances of recession are not particularly elevated. Policymakers must be nimble if conditions surprise. So this has been the new word, by the way, for those who haven't followed it really closely. Nimble is the word, meaning you're going to get really screwed over and there's nothing we can do. So here he was yet again. He's always having to go in front of Congress and so on. And I didn't watch this one just too long. These ones are they're even worse than the FOMC meetings. The other risk is that we would not manage to restore price stability and that we would allow this high inflation to get entrenched in the economy. We can't fail on that task. We have to get back to 2% inflation. So this is meaning that they're going to push ahead with increasing interest rates. So that's what you need to know. Los Angeles may ban new gas stations to help combat climate emergency. I have never heard of a worse plan in all my life. Banning new gas stations from being there doesn't resolve anything. If a business goes up, whether it's a gas station, whether it's the fact that there's three of the same three Starbucks, let's say, on three corners, Maybe there's too much of this or that, malls or this. The market will decide what should happen and not. If there are 3 coffee shops on one corner and that's too much, one of them is going to go out of business. So we have to let that process happen. Monthly payments on variable rate mortgages could increase as borrowers near their trigger rate. Look at what's going on here. Let me just describe that actually really quickly. An obscure feature of variable, this is in Canada, by the way, so I don't know if it applies to the country you're from. An obscure feature of the variable rate mortgages may push up the monthly payments for an increasing number of borrowers as the Bank of Canada aggressively hikes interest rates. It's called the trigger rate. The interest rate level that, when surpassed, causes a mortgage holder's monthly payments to change. The trigger rate has been largely ignored for decades because we didn't have this happening. Increasing interest rates always been down, down, down. So we see that today, and I think we are going to have a big problem for a lot of people because I believe it was stated here, something like 30+% of individuals are using these variable mortgage rates right here. Borrowers flock into variable mortgage rates. As of April, they accounted for 37% of new insured mortgages. Now, that's not 30% of the total, 37% of the total, but that's the new ones. Why? Because variable mortgage rates generally tend to be lower than fixed rate. That might change though. We'll see what happens. So we have this condition that's happening all around. As they say here, inflation surges to 7.7% in Canada, fastest pace since 1983. Do you see the echoes of what's happening in the US? Same situation in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. Everything is pointing to the central bank activities. We look right now, we see the news and we see the media and we see the alternative news, and they are talking about the actions of the central banks today. What are they doing? They're increasing interest rates. That's right. But what did they do before? What was happening before? I've talked about the videos. I'll talk about it 100 times. I made a 60-second video. I made a 40-second video, and I just keep highlighting it over and over again. You could type into a search engine, the Money GPS 40 seconds and the Money GPS 60 seconds, and you will see. I showed you exactly how it works. The stock market moves in direct correlation with the central bank both the activities of the interest rates and the money printing. Okay, very clear, very distinct. This is just showing us the Bloomberg economics probability of U.S. recession within 24 months. Two things I wanted to know from this. If you look at where it is right now, it's almost at 100. It's at 98.5. Okay, let's round up. It's at 100. But this is important as well, because during this period, I mean, it was kind of up and down, but during that 2018-2019 period, it was going into recession. In fact, I talked about it many times, but 2020 looked like it was highly likely to be a recession. It was heading there. Very clear. And what happened? Well, they pumped in more stimulus than we've ever seen before. So they changed that, but only really delayed it. Commodities are the last only major asset class with positive returns year to date. So many people have turned away from commodities over the years. They've gone to tech stocks. They've gone to whatever kind of new creations have come out. But commodities right now, looking real good if you compare it to that. All right. Before I forget, hit that thumbs up to support the channel. Don't forget about that. All right. Appreciate it. Now, this comes from Ray Dalio. He wrote this article, and there's quite a bit in here, a lot of the stuff we talk about, but he made a couple good points. By these measures, central bank policies have not been good. More specifically, the Fed is moving from printing and buying debt at an annual rate of $1.5 trillion to selling it at an annual rate of $1.1 trillion, and from sharply lowering interest rates to sharply raising them. For that reason, we experienced the big lurch forward and now experiencing the big lurch backward. Many people can't see this. They can't understand this. And there is one step deeper. that I believe most people, even those who are informed, do not want to hear. And that is, this is being done intentionally. I'm sorry to those who that information is, quite frankly, too sensitive for. But if you study the history, as I have done over and over again all these years, it is very clear. I know some people are uncomfortable with that. The US economy is headed for a hard landing. A recession is coming within 12 to 18 months as the Fed focuses on curbing inflation. Looking here, Bill Dudley, he has some interesting things to say, and I like to get information from these former people in the Federal Reserve. Really good. But essentially, what we're looking at is they're not going to get a soft landing, incoming hard landing. So it's important to see all this, to see where it goes, and never take your eyes off of the most important factor, the central bankers. Okay? I want to say peace to everybody out there. Thank you for staying this far into the video. I'm going to give more information about the whole, the help I need and all that. I'm not even sure if I can financially do so with this business because it performs so poorly. But that's it. I want to thank you for being here. It's been a long road. It's been a long road. And we'll see what happens in the future. That's it. Take care.